Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pacific Northwest Mermaid Tarot. Today's pick a card. We have 4 piles for this reading. Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. We're using pre-drawn tarot cards along with cards of wisdom, and to answer the question, when will this thing be happening? And I'm super curious to know too if the cards are going to tell us what this thing is that you have a question about, or if it'll just be all vague, which is fine too, because I'm sure you'll know. We have the Moonology cards, and the Moonology cards will correspond to either a full moon or a new moon, generally in an astrological season. And based on that, it'll give us a time frame for what month this thing that you're looking forward to, or maybe dreading, we'll see, will most likely be happening in. So go ahead, pick your pile visually. If there's one that jumps out to you, you can go ahead and you can look down below at the timestamps I have. If you also need to take a moment to pause the video and see which pile speaks to you or resonates with you, that's fine as well. I'm going to probably go through this reading pretty fast today. I will let you know that the cards are already pre-drawn, which means that we can't have the same card in both readings. And I won't be doing any more shuffling. These were already shuffled out. I felt strongly like all of these cards belong together. My goal was to have 3 tarot cards and 1 card of advice. And there were a couple piles, I will say, where that was not the case. And we had more cards than just that. So I won't be surprised if you're the same people from other readings that I've had where your cards tend to come out with way more than the other piles are getting in those same readings. Anyways, with that, I'm going to go ahead and move all of the other piles off to the side. This is pile 2. If you're interested in this reading, if this is what's speaking to you, you can find that timestamp below. I'm just going to be setting it off to the side in order. Pile number 3. If this is a pile that you feel called to, I'm going to set this off to the side, and timestamp will be down below. Pile number 4. If this is the reading that's meant to find you and these cards are speaking to you, then timestamp will be down below. This is going to be the last reading of the day. And for those of you who chose pile number 1, a fiery climax approaches. We have the full moon in Aries. All right, so right away, Aries, that's going to be around March 21st. Full moon, that could be specific to the full moon that's coming up in Aries, or perhaps around that week. It could also just mean that this is something that is being brought to fruition. A lot of times that's what the full moons represent. I'm going to set this just off to the side. Try to not catch it on fire. And let's see if the tarot has any clarification on what this is that's happening during the next full moon in Aries. Okay. Strength inverted, 5 of Wands, and the 4 of Wands. So right away, what I'm feeling with the inverted strength card here is that if this is your past and this is your present and this is your future, then you've really struggled previously with feeling like you're not strong enough. When strength shows up at all, this is a card that usually means, oh my gosh, just struggling and just having to be strong. I'm even getting, some of you may have had parents who you felt like you as a child had to be your parents' parent. You were raising your parents. It was just that feeling you always had to be strong. And I get the feeling with it being inverted like this, you just burnt out and you're done and you gave up, and you maybe even gave every piece of you, everything that you had, to needing to be strong because of someone else's weakness. What I can say that is good news is that it looks like this particular card is in your past. Let's talk about your present with the Five of Wands. When the Five of Wands shows up upright, it's also a card of struggling. I think the author even says for this card, it starts off in her little booklet. This is a Seattle-based artist, by the way. If you're interested in this tarot deck, it's linked below. And she talks about in this booklet for this card, I think she says, do you ever have plans or like days where you wake up and you've got all of these plans and then immediately just throw them in the garbage because it's like the universe didn't get the memo and you're having to deal with like petty arguments. This could be like family, could be coworkers, doesn't really specify. But what I can say about the Five of Wands is that it's a card of just, I mean, look at this beaver. He's building this dam. He's like trying to work on something and the waves just keep knocking it down. This is where you're at right now. The card being inverted though, that feels like a good sign. That feels like you are slowly getting in touch with, oh wait, maybe you're seeing a pattern. You're like, it just felt like things weren't working out for me, but I'm starting to notice that it's only when this one particular person is involved that things don't work out, or there's this other person who they're actually trying to sabotage me. That's what's going on. Or maybe it was just a matter of you weren't sure why something wasn't working out, and then there's a giant rock here and it's stopping this from laying flat, so I'm gonna fix it real quick. So you had plans and they weren't working out and you weren't sure why, and maybe you just figured out, oh, it's like a software glitch or something and that's why this program keeps resetting, or your computer needed updates and that's why it kept shutting off on you. So something that's been really frustrating for you, I think you've just uncovered it. And I'm going to guess that the step between here and this card being your future, and I believe this future is what you had a question about, you're going to be spending time fixing it. And you might even need to go back and rebuild a whole bunch of things. You might feel like you're starting at square one to get to this point. And what is the Four of Wands? Four of Wands is a celebration. It is a party. It's also a card of stability too. And a lot of times you'll see it associated with romance. It could also be weddings. If your question was about when are you getting married or when are you going to celebrate a commitment to someone, then the Four of Wands would be confirmation of that energy. And I do want to point out real quick that the full moon in Aries, so that could be sometime between March 21st and I believe April 19th, before Pisces season starts. There's no year attached to that. So that could be this upcoming year, could be the year we're in. I do think that it's heavily reliant, what year it is, upon how quickly you're able to claim this energy and live in this reality. How quickly you're able to celebrate as if the party has already started. I did also have a card that I wanted to pull for advice for you, and you have Tulsi with You Are Sacred. Looking at this card, and I think I've mentioned this in another reading recently too. What I see with this yellow is your throat chakra. Or sorry, not your throat chakra. It's the one in your stomach. I can't remember the name of it now, but you could be experiencing a lot of stomach problems. You could be having just like upset tummies, just silly things like that, where it seems small, but it's really impacting your day to day. And it could also be that you're at a point right now where you don't know if you can trust your gut or not, like your gut instincts, because you just have this overactive like gut response to everything. You're not even sure anymore, like if this bad feeling you're getting is a legit bad feeling or if it's just because you have anxiety all the time. And if that is the case, then this is going back to the Strength card, where you had to be an adult in the presence of adults when you were still a kid. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to apply to everyone in this reading, but I do think a vast majority of you had to raise your parents. Not necessarily your parents either. It could just be some other adult in your life who was supposed to take care of you, was supposed to be strong so that you could be carefree and just be a kid. That wasn't the dynamic that you got to experience. And so you are here with probably lots of stomach issues. Maybe also I'm hearing migraines, or if you've had hair falling out recently and you're just like, oh my gosh, is it stress? Am I dying? What's going on? You are just in this point of chaos. You don't have a firm foundation and you're trying to build something and it just keeps going wrong. So what I see as your message, how you're going to get from your present to this beautiful future, is it's time to ground yourself. It's time to ground yourself and do some inner healing, especially for whatever this is. I know it's so easy to say, just go do some inner healing. Go back and fix some childhood trauma. That's not an easy thing at all. It might even feel impossible. I am also getting the message that some of you do have people in your life right now who you are scared to trust because you're worried they might let you down, like the person in your past that this card is referencing. And if the question here is on whether or not you're going to be getting married, you could have someone in your life, a romantic partner, who just isn't ready to ask you to marry them or isn't ready to make that commitment. And it's not because they don't want to. What I am sensing is that they don't feel you trust them. Maybe they can't verbalize that, but they don't feel like you trust them. And the reality is you don't. And it's not because they're not trustworthy necessarily. It could be that they're not trustworthy, but that's not the reason you don't trust them. The reason you don't trust them is because of this. Because you have decided that you can only count on yourself. So if this is looking at like a partner right now, and you're like, why aren't they taking the next step? When is it going to happen? It is okay to trust people. Start small, but it's okay to trust people and let them fail or let them succeed. But you can't just assume that it's not going to work out. You can't just assume that if you trust them, you're going to be disappointed, you're going to be let down. I think this person really loves you. If this is a marriage that you have a question about, I think they really love you. And you're going to have this beautiful life together. But first you need to learn how to trust them. Especially if you're thinking about marrying this person. Like truly, you know, with marriage, you can have all kinds of things, all kinds of responsibilities. If you choose to have children, then you have to trust them to be a parent to your children. If you choose to have pets, then you have to trust them to take care of the pets if you ever are sick or not home and you need them to do that. So if you are thinking about having a life with this person, you're like, why isn't they aren't asking me to marry them, or why is it they're dragging their feet? There is a lack of trust, and I'm not saying they're necessarily your soulmate. I'm not feeling that one way or the other. What I am feeling is that you need to start trusting them. You need to trust them and find out if they're trustworthy. As hard as that sounds. And it's going to take a lot of self-regulation and a lot of grounding. That's what I have for you, my beautiful pile number ones. I'm wishing you the best, and I will see you in another reading. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. If this is your pile, welcome. Let's get started with... Okay, so this card was supposed to be answering when something would be happening. And this is frustrating because it does not. In fact, it says nothing is yet set in stone with the mutable moon. I'm not quite sure what a mutable moon is. It's actually funny because I've had this deck for a little bit of time now, and I use it a lot in private readings, and I've never seen this card. So, congratulations, I guess. And also, I know that's disappointing, and I'm sorry about that. I'm also a little disappointed too. But let's look at your cards and see why it is that there's no answer to your question. And I do want to say, first of all, anytime you ask a question, you ask Spirit in like a general reading, you're like, okay, Spirit, when is this thing going to happen? And you draw a card and the card says something like this. The thing that you are wondering about, whether it will happen or when, if fate hasn't made up its mind about that yet. So that could be a matter of, like one of the things is there are theories about different soulmates. And you're like, oh, is this person my soulmate? Well, some people believe you actually, our souls go through this journey, through this timeline where we have multiple soulmates. And it's just a matter of which one we ultimately end up in, which one, like our souls go through a certain journey, and that shapes them, like the final pieces, to where who your soulmate is, for example, might not even be determined yet. I don't necessarily get the feeling that this is a love question, though. This might not be a question about relationships. I'm not feeling that one way or the other. But what I do feel is that the answer to your question, either it's something that the universe hasn't decided if it's going to happen at all, or the universe just hasn't decided when. Because again, everything is always in everything is always in divine timing. At the same time, we do have free will as humans, and we have the ability to mess up plans. So there are some things that God wants you to have happen, let's say when you're 5, and then maybe it doesn't happen until you're 15 or 20, or for that matter 70, just because of humans getting in the way and stopping this plan. But eventually things that are meant for you do happen for you. So let's look at these cards. We have Temperance. That's a major arcana card. 8 of Pentacles reversed, and 2 of Cups reversed. Okay, so real quick, Temperance. This is your past. At least this is how I had intended these readings to go. Past, present, and future, along with a little advice card here that we'll look at in a minute. If Temperance is in your past, you had a lot of balance in certain areas, but it could be that you're feeling less balanced now, or more likely, because you will almost always see the Temperance card as someone who has one foot in and one foot out. So for maybe 1 or 2 of you, you had a lot of balance previously and you're just misaligned now. But I get the feeling for most of you, the Temperance card is in your past, because up until this point, you have always been 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Whatever this thing is that you have a question about, the fact that the universe isn't even giving you a straight answer when this is what was in your past, it's kind of ironic. It's kind of like the universe is like, look, we can't tell you the answer to this because we don't even know if you're gonna put both feet in and take this leap. Like, we can't tell you when this is gonna happen because we don't even know if you're gonna do steps A, B, C, D, and E to get to where the universe can set something up in your favor, if this is something that is genuinely in your favor. Looking at your present with the 8 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles is upright. Okay, look at this. I don't know if you can see this card. Oh, I love it so much because it's a little like beehive, but there are all these coins that are stacked into the beehive itself. Upright, it's a promotion at work. It's that you are just being a hard-working honeybee, and you are showing up to work on time. You're putting in the hours, you're getting the clients, whatever that looks like, and you think nobody notices. You think, I'm just working hard because it's what I do. You're just somebody who puts in the right amount of effort. Whether you care about your job or not, you're going to do it right. Absolute respect to you. When it's upright, though, people did see you, and you're about to be appreciated or recognized, especially financially, like you're about to get a bonus because you've done so well with with your work, and because people have seen that. Inverted though, you aren't sure if anyone actually sees you or not. You're not sure if people see the hard work that you're putting in. I also get the feeling you don't know if God and the universe sees the hard work that you are putting in every day. I think there's a lot of struggling that's going on, a lot of questioning whether or not you're even working in the right place. If you're putting in a lot of effort towards something, you might be wondering if it's even worthwhile what you're doing. If you're trying to get a promotion at your job, you might also be wondering, again with the 1 foot in, 1 foot out idea, you might also be wondering if this is even the job that you want. Forget the promotion. Do you even want to keep showing up to work here? And let's talk about your future. The Two of Cups inverted. I think some of you are in a relationship and you're wondering when another shoe is going to drop. Something might have happened in the relationship and you're wondering when it's going to end, when it's going to fall apart. I say that because the Two of Cups, this is a card of partnership, specifically romantic. Could also be really close friends, but it's usually romantic. And notice how in this artistic depiction of the Two of Cups, the elephants are filling each other's cups. So the Two Cups upright, this is you and someone else who, no matter how much the universe tries to empty your cup and just drain your soul, you always fill each other back up. So my question for you, group number 2, why is this card inverted in your future? And was that what you had a question about here? What is it that you are seeing when you see this card? Because I am actually really confused by that. Why would the Two of Cups be inverted and you're reading about the future? And when the question that kicks off the whole reading is, when will this happen? Why would the universe answer, nothing is yet set in stone? Very interesting. And I don't have the answer to it. And I'm wondering if you have the answer, but also, obviously, you can't quite just talk to me right now. So instead, I'm going to open up the advice that we have for you, or turn it over, I should say. And we have Start Fresh. Chickweed. Interesting. Okay, so this card, I know what it is because I've been reading through the book on all of these cards, but it's the first time it's actually shown up in a reading, which is very special. So chickweed, as I remember, kind of the general advice from it is that, well, let me back up a little bit. Chickweed is kind of that whole bloom where you're planted idea. The weeds that sprout from the sidewalk. That is kind of what chickweed is my understanding. And it's kind of like a tumbleweed where it just goes places, and then wherever it lands, that's where it makes a home. And the advice the author presents attached to this card is that you have something you're worrying about that you really shouldn't be preoccupying yourself with. You might be wrapped up in a lot of details, and those details aren't important. This might also be something where you think you have control over it and you think you can change it, or you feel like you need to predict how this is going to turn out because so much of your life hinges on it. And what this card is telling you is that actually it's not as important as you think it is. So I'm sure this reading probably feels a little disappointing for you, but taking all of this into account, whatever this Two of Cups inverted means, this is something that the universe is sorting out. It's like threads are being pulled on and we don't know what they're attached to, or even what other threads they're going to be pulled together in the process of pulling on this. Because sometimes you get your thread and you pull and you don't know if you're undoing a knot or making it worse. That's that's kind of what's going on right now in your life. There's this energy of you are still young in whatever this area is, and you're very focused on it, especially with the Eight of Pentacles being inverted. You might even be wondering if you're doing a good job. And God does want you to know you are. You're doing a good job. It's okay. You're where you need to be. If this card is upside down because you're not sure, yes, you're exactly where you need to be for this moment in time. That may not be the case a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now, but for this moment in time, take a breath. You're where you're meant to be. And whatever it is that you've been worrying about, nothing is yet set in stone. And maybe pay a little less attention to this. Let this sort itself out. All right, pile number 2. That's what I have for you in your reading. I will see you again later. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Hello, pile number 3. If that's what you chose, welcome to your reading. And you have, for your when is this going to happen answer, the end of a tough cycle approaches, full moon in Capricorn. Okay, so here is the irony about all of this. As I'm filming this video, the full moon in Capricorn has just happened. So your question for when is this thing going to happen? It's probably in a year. Or it could be it's already just happened. And I can't say for sure. If you know specifically what this thing is, you might have the answer in your mind. But let's go ahead and look at your cards and see what we have. This one here, with all of the other groups, we were doing 3 cards for your past, present, and future. And I remember now your pile, you had 4 cards come up. So I'm not quite sure where to put those. And then also this is your card for advice. Okay, how do I want to do this? These are all major arcana cards. The Tower, inverted, the Hanged Man, upright. Hanged Man is feeling stuck. So I do think this is absolutely where you're at in the present. The Tower being upside down, what I'm strongly feeling from that is you had this big dream once upon a time, and it just crumbled in your face, and it is still very much a part of your past, even if you're not necessarily still there in that moment. It happened. You think about it daily. Absolutely on a daily basis, this haunts you. And it might even be the reason why you currently feel stuck, which is the Hangman here. The Hierophant inverted and Death inverted. Again, all major arcana cards. That's a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy going on right now. The Hierophant being inverted and Death being inverted. Death being card number 13. Some of you have been seeing 13s recently. And you might be feeling like, oh, that's unlucky. Or maybe you're thinking it is lucky, but you've absolutely just been noticing it a little bit. You might even be a little preoccupied with the idea of death lately too. But that card is inverted. Are you someone who likes to reinvent yourself when things go wrong? And I'm not saying when things just get hard, but when things feel impossible, when you get stuck somewhere. Are you somebody who has a tendency to leave these messy situations, create an entirely new life for yourself, maybe physically move to another city, another state, another country even? Are you someone who If there's a bad breakup or a job that failed in the past, you come up with an explanation in your mind for why it happened. I wasn't pretty enough. They just didn't like my personality. And do you change those things about you? But not adjust, not little adjustments, but like completely change, become a new person and go start over. Are you someone who likes to do that? Because that's what I'm seeing with the death card inverted for your future. Could also be just a matter of things are not as they seem. And where I think the most information is going to be is in the Hierophant being inverted. Here's what's interesting about the Hierophant. If you were Catholic and like a very devout Catholic, the Hierophant is the Pope. If you were in a cult, the Hierophant would be the cult leader. If you are the world's biggest Taylor Swift fan, the Hierophant is Taylor Swift. So with that, my question for you is, who is your Hierophant? And the Hierophant could represent a person, but it could also represent the authority that that person has. So again, going back to if you're a Catholic, it's the Pope. Well, it's not just the Pope as a person. It could just be all of the church for that matter. Whoever it is whose authority you respect and you would take orders from. And the Hierophant is something that exists in everyone's life. Even people who have no religion, people who have no spirituality, they all have some set of beliefs that governs their life. So who is your Hierophant? And seeing this Hierophant upside down, in my mind, that's a false prophet. There is some belief that you have had, that you've held so strongly, and it might be you're misunderstanding what it actually means, or it could be that this person is just not who they seem. There are a lot of podcasters, a lot of influencers, a lot of celebrities who say a lot of things, for example, that we probably should not be taking literally. There are a lot of people right now who are giving advice online about nutritional supplements and things, for example, and people are finding out that a lot of those videos are deep fakes. It's not even a real person. They're showing fitness results, and it's not even an actual body. It's all just computer generated. It's all AI. So that's what I see as your Hierophant. That there's something that you believe in right now, and the reason it's inverted is because it's a false belief. And you're being called to question that. And wherever you're at right now, you're feeling stuck. There's this horrible thing that happened. I'm so sorry about that. Whatever it was that fell. I mentioned how towers, a lot of times they crumble because there's something wrong with the foundation. And we see here all of these crows, and they're losing their tree. And the reason why is the tree is dead. That tree could not sustain life. That's why the crows are losing their tower. So whatever it was that you had all of these hopes and dreams or goals built on before, the reason it fell apart is because of foundational issues. And this could be within yourself, or they could have been, there's another person involved, and that person might have just been flaky, and that's why everything fell apart. This is not to blame them or anything. It's just the reality that you do need to address that situation that happened. If this is something that you're feeling guilty about, there might be some people you need to go back and apologize to before you can move on to whatever this full moon in Capricorn is. You being stuck right now, I know that's hard, but you're gonna be okay. And the advice that I'm seeing right here is absolutely do not go reinvent yourself. The death card is inverted for a reason here. Do not go kill this version of you and come up with another one, okay? That's not what's going on right now. It's not you. It is not you. Who you are fundamentally as a person, you don't need to go change all of that in order to reach this destination. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at your advice card and see what message there is for you. Oh, we have reishi with defying gravity. So reishi is this mushroom that grows on trees, and it's a very strong mushroom. You can actually see here, these caterpillars are just like climbing right up it. It's like staircases. And with that, the message the author of the book hoped to convey with this card is the same way the mushroom grows strong on its own. You can see here, it's not like it has a little stem going into the tree. It's like it's on the tree, but it's holding itself up. So the same way it's strong on its own, it's time you start counting on your own strength. It's time you start relying on yourself, your own ability to get out of a situation that a lot of times is your own fault. And I'm sorry if that comes across as really harsh. But a lot of times it's you who gets you stuck, and then it's you who runs away from it all by creating a new version of you. But it doesn't matter how many times you change your hair, change your name, change your zip code. Wherever you go, there you are. That's an expression that Alcoholics Anonymous use, because my understanding is that it's very common for people with addictions to think if they just move somewhere new, their addiction will go away, everything will be better. But the problem's not your zip code. At least that's not the whole problem. I'm sure for some of you, there might be a little bit of issue with your zip code, in the sense of if you're in an area where there's just no opportunity. It's not saying that you're not ever going to be called to leave. But the biggest problem here is you. You keep reinventing yourself, and you keep ending up in the same inverted tower moment. You keep ending up with the same weak foundation because that foundation is you, and you cannot get away from yourself. So the solution here is not to keep running and keep changing your name and changing your identity and changing your friend group and changing your job. The solution is to learn to be strong and to learn to be your own person. Unapologetically, but also apologize when you need to. So for your full moon in Capricorn, whatever this thing is that you're wondering about, you'll get there when you start relying on your own strength, when you learn to not be running from things. It could be a year from now that this full circle loop will happen. It could be whatever it is that you're questioning may have already just happened. And when I say just happened, I mean like literally as this video is being made, last night, the night before, just happened, whatever this question is that you have, or it might not be for another year. All right, for my pile number 3s, that's all I have for you. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you're interested, and I will see you in another reading. Bye. Hello, pile number 4. Welcome to your reading. I'm really excited for this because whoever you are, you got 2 advice cards. I was meaning to just pull one, but this one wanted to come out with a friend. So there might be a little extra wisdom from the universe for this pile. To get started, whatever it is that you're wondering about, the answer to your question, when will this happen? Show the world the real you with the full moon in Aquarius. Okay, so Aquarius season is January 20th. And if you're watching this and that's coming up, congratulations, it's coming up super soon. If you're watching this and it just passed, you're probably gonna have to wait a year. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean it is the full moon. It could just mean sometime during Aquarius season, which does last from around the end of January, so around the last week of that, to around the middle to last week of February. So there's quite the window in there, and I don't know if it'll happen around the full moon. This absolutely could have been a new moon, but instead it's a full moon that was drawn. So it might be the week of the full moon during that time, or it could also just be symbolic of that season. All right, so for your cards, we have your past. We have the Wheel of Fortune inverted. King of Pentacles is your present. That's pretty cool. King of Pentacles is a card of abundance, and that's beautiful. And then we have the Six of Pentacles reversed as your card of the future. We'll get to this in a minute. But to start with, let's talk about the Wheel of Fortune being inverted. So the Wheel of Fortune being inverted, you went from being on a winning streak to being on a losing streak. It might have been that for a certain amount of time, everything was just sunshine, rainbows, things were going well for you, and you have been just struggling ever since. Again, losing streak energy. What I do see for your present is the King of Pentacles, and you're in a position where wealth-wise you're doing fine. So let's say you're someone who works in sales, for example, or someone who gets some kind of a commission. Maybe you're a business owner. The sales are not coming in, but you're still fine, because with the King of Pentacles is somebody who planted a seed, watered that seed. He pulled weeds out of that garden so that seed could grow, and he did that during the hottest part of the day. He has already put in all of the hard work, and when the seed was ready to be harvested, he went out and he was harvesting it himself. He probably hired people to help him too, but the point is that he was out there putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to where he is now. And because of this rich harvest that you had at some point before the Wheel of Fortune turned, you have a storeroom. And you might be wondering, whatever it is that you have built up, I do sense that it's resources, because we have two pentacle cards. These are earthly cards. These are cards of money. Sometimes they're called the coins collection or the suite of coins. For the King of Pentacles, you have resources, and you're wondering when they're going to run out. And your question might actually be, when will all of this bad luck come to an end? Or if there's someone you're waiting on to pay you a bill, you're wondering, when is that going to happen? When are they going to make that payment? And I understand too, this might actually be a metaphor for a few of you. I'm sensing that there are a few of you who this is making sense for you. It doesn't feel like it's answering your specific question. And I think the reality is you're going through something that I have just never heard of. That's why I'm sorry, I'm not able to communicate that to you. But metaphorically, you are hearing me, and it is making sense, and you are seeing it. That whatever this is, you have an abundance stored up, and you're wondering, when is this going to happen? And here's what I'm seeing, because you have the Six of Pentacles right over here for your future. And again, what I've seen in the past with previous readings, it seems like these are usually the same cards, in the sense of this is happening at the same time this happens. So with show the world the real you, and the full moon in Aquarius is the answer to your when, let's talk about the how and the what. Six of Pentacles is a card of financial balance. And I'm not talking about like, budgeting and making sure you spend enough money on the things that are important, as well as the things that are just for fun. That's not what this card necessarily talks about. what this card usually refers to is the balance of money as an energy in a community. So an example of that would be there's a church, everyone donates whatever they have extra of into this collection plate that goes through. And then the church, if they're doing their jobs right and they're really listening to God and the universe, they are then distributing out these funds so that the people who have nothing to contribute still have food, still have clothes on their back, still have a roof over their heads. Well, what I see here with the Six of Pentacles being inverted is that you are on the receiving side of this generosity in the future. So yes, you might be doing fine right now. If you were broke previously, before the Wheel of Fortune changed for the second time, like at some point in your past, if you struggled a lot with money and maybe had nothing, and you're in a place where you're dependent upon the generosity of others, prepare yourself, because that might be happening again very soon, depending upon when the next Aquarius season is from when you're watching this video. You may be in a position again where you need to ask for help. There is no shame in that. We're all there. When the Six of Pentacles is upright, this is a card of being generous and giving, even if you have barely enough for yourself. That's what gets talked about in the Six of Pentacles being upright. That's someone who's making $5 an hour and still finding a way to give $20 to somebody who they see as less fortunate than themselves. Inverted, you're the person getting those $20. And you probably are going to feel so bad taking this money. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like I'm taking money from someone who has nothing. It's okay. They're going to get good karma for it. I will say that. They are going to get good karma points for it. And also, there is a part of you that needs to heal and needs to learn to accept. I'm going to go ahead and flip the advice cards that we have for you. We did have two. So we have Plantain with Rewild and Quaking Aspen with We Are One. This card, I was just reading something, and it said that when a tree is sick in a forest, the other trees can sense that it is sick, and they can send it nutrients underground through their root system. That's what the Quaking Aspen card represents. Even though that's not the author's words, that is what it represents. What the author writes in the book about this particular plant or tree or root system, whatever you want to call it, is that aspens actually are all holding hands under the earth. So you walk through a forest and you're just like, oh, look at all of these trees. But the trees, the way they grow is you have one tree and its roots actually grow along and then they pop up and there's another tree, versus the typical seed being planted and watered method. And where I see an interesting connection is with the King of Pentacles, because I was talking about you're someone who's gone through the effort of planting seeds and watering them and letting them grow. But what I do see here with this piece of advice is that sometimes you can grow an entire tree from an existing tree. You don't need to go plant a brand new seed. I don't know what that looks like specifically in your life, but I do see that as a piece of advice for you, as well as with your Six of Pentacles future card. You are connected. We are all part of the same community, of a same, just maybe it's geographical or maybe it's cultural, but we're all part of something that we can't escape from. Well, we could, but it's very hard to, and it's not that way by accident. It's because we're supposed to be part of something. Those are the people who are going to help you when you realize you need it. With Rewild and Plantain, I remember in the book the author talks about for this card that the plantain, I think she said it originally came from South America, and that it sort of traveled everywhere. And it didn't always look beautiful when it first would pop out of the ground. And kind of the advice from this is that it's okay to do something, even if it doesn't get done well. And there is a saying, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. I know there's another one, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. But it's the idea, if it's worth doing, it's worth getting done and getting out there, even if it's not perfect. And another thing she had mentioned in the book, if I remember correctly, about plantain, is how you can do so much with it. You can use the peel for something. You can use the meat on the inside for something else. There is so much you can do with the leaves of this plant even. You are someone who is capable of so much more than you realize. There is a lot that you have right now in the form of wealth, resources that you are not using. You might have forgotten about them. So whatever your question is, when you're wondering, when is this going to happen? What's really important right now is that you really appreciate how far you've come and how far you're still going to go. These are not cards of giving up. Things were good before, they're going to be good again. The Wheel of Fortune is always turning. Definitely be stocking up on some good karma while you can. Be strengthening those relationships. These relationships, be strengthening them, because this is most likely going to happen. You're most likely going to be in a position where you need to have help from someone. It is a lot easier to ask for help from someone you trust than from someone who's a stranger. Though I know there's an embarrassment factor, so sometimes it's easier to ask strangers than people you know. But it is absolutely a lot easier to give help to somebody who you know and who you trust. So you need to make sure that while you're still in King of Pentacles mode here, you're strengthening those relationships. You're becoming the person who is respected and trusted and seen as a good decision maker, because at some point you are going to need to ask for help. And those things will absolutely be helpful in you getting out of whatever situation it is that you're going to end up in. All right, my group number 4, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to give it a like, leave a comment if you like, subscribe if you're interested in seeing more readings, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!